This ROVE R2 4K dual dash camera seems like a bargain when you compare it to other cameras with similar specs. So let's see what comes in the box, check out its features and the video quality during the day and night to see how good of a value it really is or isn't. And I'm gonna start with the camera itself. As you notice, I have a few extra items on the side here. This is a hardware kit, so if you'd like to semi-permanently wire the camera into the vehicle and get 24-hour parking monitor, you will need this, so you can get that as an extra. Also includes this really nice voltmeter that I've been using on other items, working on other electronics. Very cool. Anyway, I'm not going to be installing this in this video, but this is something you should consider if you need that parking monitoring. I also got this polarizer lens cover to help with the light, so make sure you get one of these. It's not very expensive and this will make a difference. So putting that to the side, let's take a look at the box itself. So this is the ROVE R2 4K Dual, which is the upgraded version from the regular R2 4K. And what is the actual upgrade? Well, the biggest difference is that this has Starvis 2, so the Sony Starvis 2 image sensor, and that's going to make a big difference at night, or at least I hope so. This one also comes with 128 gig micro SD card, so just like this one, and you will need a good quality one or your 4K footage will not work very well. This is of course a dual dash camera, so you get 4K footage from the front camera and it's going to be at 30 frames per second, and 1080p footage from the rear camera with the same 30 frames per second. This also has over-the-air firmware update, so that's great. You don't have to connect it to your computer or anything like that. Has a pretty nice app and we'll check that out later as well. It has built-in 5G Wi-Fi, so that's going to allow us 20 megabytes per second download speeds. Also has a 3-inch IPS display, so that's going to make it a little bit easier to see in the sun. Of course, built-in GPS and geotagging, as well as a G sensor, and it has a built-in capacitor, meaning it does not have a battery, but that's good if you live in a cold or hot weather. Checking on the side, there's a few other items mentioned in here, like HDR, so the high dynamic range. That should make it easier to see in direct sun and very bright or very dark areas. So we'll see how well that works once we are looking at the footage. Yeah, let's check it out. Let's open it up and see what actually comes inside this box. And here's our included 128 gigabyte micro SD card. So happy that this is included. We have our manual, plenty of good information here, and this is all in English, so there's lots and lots of explanation how to use it, how to set it up, everything else. Make sure you read it if you haven't used a dash cam before. A few other items to check out, and yes, this is a very cool thing to see. We have this stick-on little plastic piece. You might be wondering, why is this cool? Well, you put this on your windshield and then the sticky stuff from the dash camera doesn't, you know, attach to your glass. It just attaches to this and then it will hold it in place. I love these things. Now we have the camera itself. Awesome. But first, let's check out all of the accessories. So here we have the rear camera. Of course, it is adjustable, so you can adjust it however you like. Great. We have the suction cup, we have the sticky pad mount, and we have the power supply itself. It has a USB-C and USB-A plugs. This bigger box will have a bunch of cables, spare stickers, few tools, and things like that. So here's our extra stickers and these guide clips, so we can put the cable around the windshield. We have another plastic sticker for the back to mount the camera. Awesome. We have some cleaning wipes. We have a trim removal tool, two different lengths of USB-A to USB-C cables. And we have the rear camera cable. So there's going to be USB-C to USB-C. There's going to be the longer one, of course. Anyway, let's check out the camera and see what that looks like. Feels to be very high quality, not very plasticky. We do have GPS built in just right there. Very cool to see. And we have the mount for our bracket. So this would just go in there, slide in like that. And there you go. Very slim adapter as well for mounting. At the bottom here, we have a few buttons. We have the menu, mute, emergency or lock the file, switch camera view, on or confirm. Reset button here at the bottom, as well as the microphone. On the left side, we have the power and data port. And on this side, we have the micro SD card slot and the power button. Let's remove this little film for the lens and install our lens cover. We have a little microfiber cloth included in case you need to clean the lens. I'm going to remove both stickers from both sides. Install it on the camera. It screws in. Perfect. And now we can power it on. As you can see, it's telling us that we have to format the card, so we're going to do exactly that. This is not a touch screen, so we're just going to click OK to format it. So that's basically it. The camera is now ready to use. All you really have to do is select your time zone. Of course, if you'd like to see more and change a lot of settings, you can do that. So you can just go to the menu. As you can see, it tells you, it narrates what you're doing, and these will be the video settings, but you also have the system settings, so you can change the video resolution. We can go in here and do 4K for the front and 1080p for the rear, or you can downgrade it to 2.5K. Of course, that's all up to you. You can select all these different ones. I'm just going to leave it default. Loop recording, as you can see, it gives you description on each one, so that's pretty cool. I like to leave it at 1 minute, so that way my clips are shorter. You have your G sensor settings, you have your HDR. Let's make sure we have HDR enabled, and of course it is by default. Exposure, time-lapse, video compression, bitrate, 24 parking mode setup, parking mode, to record audio. Yes, we want to record audio. Video stamp, speed unit, all this stuff that's available here. Pretty cool. You can easily change it from here. And then we can go to system settings as well. So we can go to Wi-Fi and enable it so we can connect it to our phone. We can format the micro SD card, date, time, change all that stuff, GPS settings, brightness and beeps. So for example, I'm going to turn off the beeps. I don't really care for them to beep every time I go through things. Speaker volume, voice guidance, so you can disable those voice guidance if you like. So I'm gonna turn that off so it doesn't tell me what I'm doing. Boot up sound, and of course, if you like, you can just go back to the default settings. From this main menu, we can also switch to the rear camera by just pressing this button right here. So there it is. That's the rear camera. Looks like I need to adjust it down just a little bit. And from here, you can also go back to the media playback. So you can select a clip if you like, for example, this one, and play it back. So now it's playing the clip from the back of the vehicle. Anyway, as you can see, it's very easy to use and everything's very clearly laid out. The screen is also very vivid and easy to see even in the sun. So the last thing to do is go for a drive and see what the quality of these videos is actually like. Well, you've heard all the specs and you've seen some of the clips. So what do you think of the quality? To me, I can see improvements in video quality overall from the previous R2 4K Pro camera, thanks to the SONY Starvis 2 image sensor, and I'm impressed. I also like how wide angle it is. In fact, it's 150 degrees in the front and 140 degrees in the back. This gives us a wide view of the road, helping capture license plates and street signs better than ever. Also, notice how the sky isn't blown out and you can see both the bright sky and the darker road and buildings. This is achieved with wide dynamic range and high dynamic range, or WDR and HDR. That's very important since in case of an accident, lighting conditions can change in a second and this camera will be ready and adapt accordingly. The rear camera's quality isn't nearly as good as the front camera, but it does alright during the day. At night, the front camera benefits from the headlights of the car and does a great job capturing a lot of details, vivid colors, and seems to be letting in more light than other cameras I have tested in the past. The rear camera does surprisingly well at night as long as there are street lights or other lights in the area. In complete darkness or with headlights pointed straight at the camera, it's hard to make out the details. The dark tint on my rear glass also doesn't help here, but I think that's a fair test as most SUVs will have it tinted from the factory. You'd probably do a lot better in a sedan with clear rear glass. Lastly, let's talk about the app. I've used this camera with two other dash cameras I have reviewed in the past and that I'm still actually using in my or my relatives' cars, and it's very easy to use as it gives you instructions on how to set up your camera for the first time, even including pictures. After connecting to Wi-Fi, I updated the firmware, which took less than 2 minutes. Love the over-the-air updates this offers. After reconnecting to the camera, you get your live view where you can switch cameras as well as modes. Of course, you can also access your recorded footage and download it directly to the phone. As you can see, it's downloading at around 20 megabytes per second, which is great as it only takes 10 seconds to download 1 minute of footage from the front camera and just a couple of seconds from the rear camera, as it has lower bitrate and thus smaller in size. That's about 3 times faster than the previous version of this camera. Lastly, this app is very helpful in adjusting settings. The beauty here is that it's exactly the same menu as on the camera, so everything is where you'd expect it to be, and each item has a description so you know what you are adjusting. I also like that you can flip the cameras in case you want to mount them upside down. System settings are just as easy to adjust, and overall it's a well thought out app that has worked for me flawlessly for over 2 years now. That has been the case with the previous cameras as well. ROVE makes good cameras for a great price with great features, and I can't think of many negatives or flaws with this setup. Their support is also local to me here in Chicago and has good reputation, which is nice to see at this price range. Overall kit that gets included in the box with this camera is also great. You get 2 different mounting brackets and a ton of accessories. Overall, I think this is the best dash camera you can get that does exactly what it says on the box. Check out the ROVE R2 4K Pro or even the original ROVE R2 4K, the non-Pro, review videos if you might be interested in those versions. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.